which are happening on January 17, 2023, and giving you our total picks for today. Welcome back to High Stakes. Before we dive into our video, don't forget to subscribe and push that notification bell to get notified as soon as we release these sport prediction videos, and make sure to watch it till the end so you don't miss any of our picks. Also check out our Patreon if you want access our premium picks. Our Patreon is a way for us to help you improve your chances of making more money. You will find the link in description and comment section below. One more thing before we start, check out our new channel High Stakes Props and Parlays, where you can find our player props and parlay picks predictions. You will find the link in the description and comments section below. South Carolina vs Ole Miss. Two struggling SEC teams meet on Tuesday, January 17th. The Gamecocks host the Rebels as South Carolina is winless at home in conference play. South Carolina was dominated by Texas A&M in their latest game. Ole Miss has lost 6 straight games and are the lone SEC team to be winless this season. The tip-off between these two teams is 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Laying 7 points on a team that has lost 6 games in a row isn't a lot of fun, but there's a reason that the Rebels, despite being 0-5 in the SEC, are favored by 3 possessions on the road. The Gamecocks do have an upset win over Kentucky on their resume, but are a SEC team in name only. It's hard to trust South Carolina, as when they don't show up, things can get outright ugly. The resume for the Gamecocks includes losses to Colorado State by 32, Furman by 19, George Washington by 24 points, and NCAAB by 14. Our team pick is Ole Miss -7 points. The Rebels know this is a great chance for them to get in SEC win, and I expect them to be locked in for the W. This is far from my favorite play, but it's Ole Miss or nothing, as the Gamecocks are a mess. Buffalo vs Bowling Green. Bowling Green is 3-3 against the Bulls in their last 6 meetings, but they have lost 2 in a row, 1 at home and 1 on the road. The Falcons have not faced them this season, but they lost their last matchup 93-82 on February 16, 2022 at home. The two teams have identical records overall and in conference this year. Buffalo is an impressive 7-1 when playing on their home floor. Tip-off is scheduled for 7 p.m. Eastern Time. The Bowling Green Falcons are dazzling in the offensive end and should be able to exploit a subpar defensive squad. The Falcons are piling on the points in MAC play, averaging a remarkable 85 points in their 4 conference bouts, including 91 and 92 points respectively in their 2 conference road games. Buffalo allowed 91 points to Miami, Ohio 2 games ago. Furthermore, the Bulls are poor defensively. They are allowing 105.6 points per 100 possessions, ranking them 217th in adjusted defensive efficiency. Our team pick is Bowling Green Falcons plus 6.5 points. Furthermore, the Bulls are poor defensively. They are allowing 105.6 points per 100 possessions, ranking them 217th in adjusted defensive efficiency. Buffalo is not the team they were in past seasons. They have only won 3 out of their last 8 games after losing their last 2 bouts against Miami, Ohio and Central Michigan. Miami Redhawks vs Northern Illinois Huskies. Northern Illinois has managed only 3 wins in their last 10 meetings with the Redhawks, and they have lost their last 5 straight contests with them. They have not faced Miami this season, but they suffered a loss to them at home 78-75 on February 19, 2022. The last time the Huskies beat Miami was a 70-55 victory back in February 2020. Despite a poor start to the season, Miami is playing better than .500 Bowl on their home turf, 6-5. In contrast, Northern Illinois has been dreadful on the road, winning only twice out of 10 chances this season, including losses in each of their last 2 away games. Tip-off is scheduled for 6 p.m. Eastern Time. Miami should win this game at home against the struggling Huskies. The Redhawks have beaten the Huskies 7 out of the last 10 times they've played head-to-head. The Redhawks are 5-4-1 against THR spread in their last 10 games against the Huskies. Miami has played well in its 2 MAC home games, beating Buffalo by 11 points as a 3-point dog and hanging within 3 points as an 11-point underdog against a very good Kent State team. Northern Illinois has lost all but 2 games on the road this year and have not won a road game in almost a month. Despite Miami's losing record overall and within their conference, they have played relatively well on their home turf and have a winning record there. Our team pick is Miami -6 points. Northern Illinois is 0-3 against the spread as a conference underdog so far, with each of their losses coming by at least 17 points. Neither of these teams defends well, but Miami is much better offensively and on the boards. I like the Redhawks to cover. Dayton vs Davidson. Davidson will try to snap a 3-game losing streak when it travels to Dayton in an Atlantic 10 matchup on Tuesday night. The Wildcats have dropped 2 games below the .500 mark in conference play, following their 67-65 loss at George Mason on Saturday. Dayton had its 7-game winning streak snapped in a 63-62 loss to VCU last Friday. The Davidson Wildcats have been competitive at times, but the truth is they're not nearly as good as they've been in years past. The Dayton Flyers are winning in covering numbers, and they win at home by an average of 17 points, while allowing 36.1% shooting. One reason for the double-digit line is that Dayton won at Davidson, 69-55 on December 31st. With the score tied at 47, Dayton closed the game on a 22-8 run. Holmes scored a career-high 32 points, a total he would tie 2 games later in a win over Fordham. He is averaging 24.1 points in his last 8 games. Dayton will be coming and looking to avenge the 1-point loss to VCU in a game where the winners scored the final 5 points. Dayton, which was favored by 7 points against VCU, had been 7-0 against the spread in its previous 7 games before Friday's loss. I cashed my ticket with Davidson as an underdog at George Mason on Saturday, but that matchup was much more favorable for the Wildcats than this one. Dayton is the tallest team in college basketball, which does not bode well for a Davidson squad that is number 318 in offensive rebounding and number 211 in defensive rebounding. Dayton excels in both of those categories, and it is going to be motivated following its first conference loss. Our team pick is Dayton minus 11.5 points. The Flyers have also covered the spread in 7 of their last 8 games, and they have won covered in 5 straight meetings between these teams. VCU Rams vs Massachusetts Minutemen. UMass will try to get back to the .500 mark in Atlantic 10 play when it travels to VCU on Tuesday night. The Minutemen snapped their 2-game losing streak with a 75-65 win against Rhode Island on Saturday. VCU has won 8 of its last 9 games and is riding a 3-game winning streak coming into this matchup. I am concerned about the hangover effect for VCU coming into this game following its biggest win of the season. The Rams pulled off a crucial upset against Dayton on the road, putting them in a good position in the Atlantic 10 standings. They are now facing a low-profile UMass squad that might not command their full attention. The Minutemen are going to give VCU some trouble on the boards, as their strength has been their rebounding numbers. VCU has been giving up a ton of offensive rebounds throughout the season, making this a tough matchup. This is too many points to spot UMass in this game. The Minutemen are capable of keeping games close or even pulling upsets against the best teams in the A-10. UMass already beat St. Louis, who is the 2nd highest ranked team in the conference, according to KenPom. They also have momentum coming off a 10-point win over Rhode Island. Dominguez is a solid big for UMass. He is 3rd in the conference in scoring and has the athleticism to make life at the rim difficult for VCU. If Fernandez plays for UMass, then this 7.5-point spread will look like a gift, as he has the talent on the perimeter to keep this game close. Our team pick is UMass plus 8 points. UMass also has a chance to get its veteran guard back, which would be a huge boost. Illinois Chicago vs Valparaiso. It's a battle of teams from the Missouri Valley Conference on the hardwood in the Hoosier State. The UIC Flames are on the road as they make the trip to face the Valparaiso Beacons Tuesday night. UIC was beaten 81-64 on the road by Murray State in their previous game Saturday, failing to cover as an 8.5-point underdog in the contest. Valparaiso knocked off Evansville 76-69 on the road Saturday in their most recent game, covering the line as a 2-point favorite. In the all-time series between the teams, the Flames own a 31-24 advantage and have won the last 2 meetings. That includes a 74-70 road win in the most recent matchup on November 13, 2021. Both teams are well below average when it comes to offensive production this season. Neither team shoots the ball well, as the Flames are 326th in field goal percentage, while the Beacons come into the game ranked 233rd in that category on the season. Valparaiso at least comes in off a win in their last game, and they have home court in this matchup, which could prove to be important. Our team pick is Valparaiso Beacons for the win. UIC is just 2-6 on the road straight up and 3-5 against the spread as the visiting team this season, while all 6 of their road defeats have been by double figures. The Beacons aren't a great team, but they are 5-4 at home with the momentum of their win Saturday. Look for Cricky and King to lead Valparaiso to a home win. Kansas State vs Kansas, it's a Big 12 showdown on the college hardwood as a pair of ranked teams from the Sunflower State take the floor in search of a victory. The number 2 Kansas Jayhawks are on the road as they make the in-state trip to face the number 11 Kansas State Wildcats Tuesday night. Kansas comes in off a 62-60 home win over number 14 Iowa State in their previous game Saturday, though they failed to cover the 7.5-point line in the contest. Kansas State was knocked off 82-68 on the road by number 17 TCU in their most recent game Saturday, failing to cover as a 4.5-point underdog. In the all-time series between the teams, the Jayhawks own a 125-57 advantage and have won the last 7 meetings. That includes a 102-83 home victory in the most recent matchup on February 22, 2022. Kansas State is coming off a disappointing loss to TCU on the road, but the Wildcats will be at home on Tuesday, will pull off an upset and take over first place Big 12 by defeating Kansas. Kansas State has covered the number in 4 of his last 5 and in 8 of the last 10. While Kansas has won 10 games in a row, they're only 6-4 against the spread in that span, including 2-4 in their last 6. Meanwhile, Kansas State is 7-2 against the spread in their last 9. During that time, they both shared a common opponent in Oklahoma State. The Jayhawks beat them by 2 points, 69-67, while the Wildcats beat them 65-57, a margin of 8. Kansas State should have the advantage in free throws and offensive rebounds. Their excellent three-point defense will help them against a Kansas team that hits 37.6% from deep, ranked 38th, but on few attempts, 20.8 per game, ranked 245th. Our team pick is Kansas State Wildcats plus 2.5 points. The Wildcats are still undefeated at home this season, and they've played better than expected all season, 11-6 against the spread, while the Jayhawks have looked vulnerable in the past few weeks. I'll take Kansas State over Kansas. Toledo Rockets vs Ohio Bobcat. The Ohio Bobcats end a 2-game homestand Tuesday night with a game in Toledo, against the Toledo Rockets. Ohio comes into Tuesday night 1 game above .500 in the year after losing 3 of the last 4, including a 5-point loss to Kent State in their last game. Offensively, Ohio did shoot the ball while making 42.6% of their shots to score 65 points in the game, but committed 16 turnovers leading to the loss. Defensively, Ohio struggled a bit as Kent State scored 70 points, including 40 in the second half on 42.9% shooting from the floor. I wanted to be a contrarian for this game and go for Ohio, but the horsepower just isn't there for the Bobcats. The game being in Toledo is just one of the minor points in this matchup that plays against the Bobcats. There's just too much else going on. Toledo is ranked 8th in scoring versus 85th, 24th in field goal percentages versus 138th, and also leads in free throws against Ohio, 42nd versus 146th. The KenPom data doesn't give us much insight, except that Toledo is ranked 103rd and Ohio sits at 151st in overall rankings. Our team pick is Toledo Rockets minus 8.5 points. One standout data point is the assist-to-turnover ratio for Toledo puts them at 27th nationally, while Ohio isn't in the top 50. TeamRankings.com put Toledo at 42nd and Ohio at 127th in assists per turnover ratio. This is one of the signs of a polished team working together. Eastern Michigan vs Kent State. The top and bottom of the Mid-American Conference will square off when Eastern Michigan hosts Kent State on Tuesday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time at EMU Convocation Center. Eastern Michigan has gone 1-4 in their last 5 games, while Kent State has yet to lose against an unranked opponent this season. The Golden Flashes are favored by 13.5 points, while the total is set at 146.5 points. Kent State has yet to lose a game against an unranked opponent, and I do not believe that trend will end in this game. Although they have not beaten anyone by a margin greater than 10 points since December 2nd, I have confidence that Kent State will take care of business on the road. Should Kent State get a lead early, they can control the tempo of how they play, while forcing the Eagles to put up difficult shots. Additionally, the discrepancy between the two defenses is also impossible to ignore. The Eastern Michigan Eagles got flat-out embarrassed by Akron in their last outing, losing by more than 30 points. Now Akron is a really good team with an excellent defense, but Kent State is even better, so I expect this one to be ugly. Kent State only gives up about 62.2 points per game, which ranks 25th in the country. They are also a better rebounding team than Eastern Michigan, and we saw what Akron did to the Eagles on the boards. Our team pick is Kent State minus 13.5 points. Kent State is a ridiculous 12-3 against the spread this season. Ball State vs Western Michigan. We have a Mid-American Conference NCAA men's basketball game on Tuesday evening between the Western Michigan Broncos and the Ball State Cardinals. The Broncos are struggling as they are 6-11, 2-2 this season and are on a 2-game winning streak after a 108-92 home win on Saturday against the Bowling Green Falcons. The Cardinals are 12-5, 3-1 after a 75-61 Saturday home win over the Miami Redhawks. The Western Michigan Broncos seem to be getting worse by the week and don't expect things to change on the road, where they lose by an average of 13.4 points. The Ball State Cardinals have been scary good at home, and they win in the favorite role by an average of 10 points. The defenses are showing a split as of late, with Western Michigan allowing 88.3 points in their previous 4 games, while Ball State is giving up just 65.2 points in their previous 5 games. The Broncos are not getting enough blocks as the Cardinals are averaging almost double the amount of blocks per game thus far. Our team pick is Ball State Cardinals minus 10.5 points. All in all, go with the Ball State Cardinals to cover the spread here. Mississippi State vs Tennessee. Number 9 Tennessee will try to bounce back from a loss to Kentucky when it travels to Mississippi State on Tuesday night. The Vols were riding a 5-game winning streak prior to their 63-56 loss to Kentucky on Saturday. Mississippi State has dropped 5 of its last 6 games, including an 87-53 loss at Tennessee earlier this month. There is no doubt that Tennessee is coming off one of its worst performances of the season, but I would be shocked if it bleeds into this game. Rick Barnes does an excellent job of getting his team to bounce back with strong outings, especially on the defensive end. The Vols have already blown out Mississippi State once this season, and they have now won 8 of the last 9 meetings between these teams. These two met just 2 weeks ago and it got ugly for the Bulldogs. They scored just 22 points in the first half and 39.6% as a team. They also allowed the Volunteers to shoot a blistering 36 for 53, 67.9%. Or maybe Tennessee just imposed their will on Mississippi State, more so than them being allowed to. Tennessee has come out swinging after both of their other losses this season, scoring an average of 83.5 points per game on 49.2% shooting. They beat the Bulldogs by nearly 5 touchdowns last time out, so I'm sure they can beat them by 1 touchdown in hostile territory. Our team pick is Tennessee minus 6.5 points. Both teams have taken around the same amount of field goals over their last 5 games, but the Vols have sunk almost 8 more shots than Mississippi State has. The Bulldogs catching Tennessee coming off a loss is a tough break. Richmond vs Rhode Island. There will be A-10 action in Virginia on Tuesday night. The Rhode Island Rams head down the coast to take on the Richmond Spiders. Rhode Island comes into this matchup with a record of 6-11 and are 2-3 in A-10 conference play. Meanwhile, Richmond sits at 10-8 on the season and 3-2 in conference play. The opening tap is scheduled for 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'll probably stick with Richmond. The Spiders are coming off a sketchy second half against St. Bonaventure, however, so they'll need a rebound effort. Richmond has been pretty inconsistent on the scoreboard lately, too. They've hit 63 or fewer points in 3 of the last 5 games. I'm siding with the Spiders. Rhode Island has lost 5 of its last 6 against the spread. Richmond is finally starting to gel this season, having won 7 of its last 10. They also have the best player on the court in Burton. Rhode Island's only advantage in this game will be a small rebounding edge. Our team pick is Richmond minus 8.5 points. Archie Miller was a great hire for the Rams, but it's going to take a couple of years to get Rhode Island back into the upper echelon of the Atlantic 10. This year will continue to be a struggle, including on Tuesday versus Richmond. Notre Dame versus Florida State. A pair of ACC programs take the floor in search of a victory in the shadow of the Golden Dome. The Florida State Seminoles are on the road as they travel to face the Notre Dame Fighting Irish Tuesday night. Florida State was knocked off 67-58 at home by number 13 Virginia in their previous contest Saturday, though they did cover the line as a 10-point underdog. Notre Dame was beaten 78-73 on the road by Syracuse in their last game Saturday, though they did manage to cover as a 5.5-point underdog. In the all-time series between the teams, the Seminoles own a 9-5 advantage and have won the last two meetings. That includes a 73-72 home win in the first meeting this season on December 21, 2022. I'll probably take a stab on Florida State here. The Seminoles are in the middle of a lost season, but they've had a few bright spots here and there. One of those bright spots came December 21 in a 73-72 win over Notre Dame at Donald L. Tucker Center. Florida State shot 47.4% from the floor in that one and had 29 rebounds. Our team pick is Florida State Seminoles plus 5 points. North Carolina Tar Heels vs Boston College Eagles. The Boston College Eagles will be back on the road Tuesday night for a conference matchup against North Carolina. Boston College comes into Tuesday night 2 games below .500 after losing 4 of the last 5, including 3 in a row, following a 22-point blowout loss against Wake Forest. Defensively, Boston College was obliterated as Wake scored 85 points after a 44-point second half on 52.3% shooting from the floor. Offensively, Boston College was terrible, scoring only 63 points on 38.2% shooting, and Boston College committed 15 turnovers in 40 minutes. The North Carolina Tar Heels have struggled a bit this season, but are the better team in this matchup Tuesday and will dominate for 40 minutes. Look for North Carolina to use their size and talent to overwhelm a lackluster Boston College team. Take North Carolina Tuesday night to get the home win and cover against a conference foe. The Tar Heels are 4-1 Austrian shillings over their last 4 games, in which they were double-digit favorites, including 3 conference games, which were won by an average of 18 points per game. The Eagles lost by 22 points in their last game and 16 the game prior, so they have been very prone to blowouts lately. Boston College has lost their 5 conference games by an average margin of 13.8 points per game, and that includes a 1-point loss to Duke. Both teams have Wake Forest as a common opponent over the past 2 weeks, and North Carolina handled them with relative ease, winning 88-79 at home, while BC got bashed by 22 points at home. Our team pick is North Carolina minus 17 points. I like that North Carolina continues to shoot at the same pace as they have all season. Consistency is key to them getting back on track, and with Beckett proving he is fine in their last game, they should roll here. Georgia Tech vs North Carolina State. North Carolina State heads to Atlanta to meet Georgia Tech on Tuesday, January 17th. The Wolfpack are coming off of their better wins of the year as they defeated Miami at home in overtime. The Yellow Jackets have lost 3 straight games as they own a 1-6 conference record. The game will tip off at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. North Carolina State has been surprising, but that's not a reason to abandon them now. The Wolfpack are a far superior scoring team than Georgia Tech, with the nation's 22nd ranked scoring offense. On missed shots, North Carolina State should more than hold its own on the glass, with the 54th ranked rebounding team in the country. They are also coming off a quality win on the road at Virginia Tech, a stronger squad than the Yellow Jackets. Georgia Tech will have trouble matching points with North Carolina State and will struggle with the physicality of the Wolfpack. North Carolina State is rounding into some solid form, but their road record could use a bump. This game against Georgia Tech comes a perfect opportunity. The Wolfpack are 1-2 straight up and against the spread on the road this season. The Yellow Jackets are 7-3 at home straight up and 5-4 against the spread when playing in their own arena. The difference on Tuesday will come down to North Carolina State's ability to make shots. Georgia Tech has a statistically strong defense, but North Carolina State has scored over 70 points in each win this year. Our team pick is North Carolina State minus 5.5 points. Wolfpack minus 5.5 points. The Yellow Jackets have given up 70 points in 8 of their 9 losses. I think North Carolina State's offense comes out firing and helps them take the win and cover. Iowa State vs Texas. The Texas Longhorns, 15-2-4-1 Big 12, will be going for their 4th consecutive win when they face the Iowa State Cyclones, 13-3-4-1 Big 12, on Tuesday night. The Longhorns are coming off a 72-70 win over Texas Tech as 8-point favorites. The Cyclones are coming off a 62-60 loss to Kansas as 7.5-point underdogs. The Cyclones have won 6 of their last 7 games and 9 straight home games. They have played well offensively, especially at home where they are scoring more than 75 points per game while making over 48% of their shots. They do a good job finding the open man, and they're very aggressive on the offensive glass, grabbing more than 11 offensive rebounds per game, which will give them more scoring opportunities. They've also done a good job protecting the ball and won't give the Longhorns a lot of easy scoring opportunities. The Longhorns usually play well defensively, but they struggled in recent games, giving up at least 70 points in 3 of their last 4 games, so expect them to have a hard time slowing down the Cyclones in this game. The Longhorns have won 3 of their last 4 games. They usually play well offensively, but they've struggled on the road where they are scoring less than 70 points per game. They don't rebound the ball as well as the Cyclones on the road and won't get a lot of extra scoring opportunities against them. They were also careless with the ball in their last 3 games, which will lead to easy scoring opportunities for the Cyclones, who average more than 10 steals per game at home. Our team pick is Iowa State Cyclones win. With the Cyclones holding opponents under 50 points per game at home, the Longhorns will struggle offensively in this game. Go with Iowa State to cover the spread. Wisconsin vs Penn State. With Tyler Wahl's health still in question for the Badgers, I think this is a great opportunity to fade Wisconsin. Wisconsin has dropped 2 of its 8 home games this year, meaning that they're far from untouchable in Madison. Furthermore, the Badgers have been terrible ATS in recent home games, going just 1-6 against the number in their last 7 home contests. They've also failed to cover in 6 straight games overall. Our team pick is Penn State to cover. Ultimately, I think the Nittany Lions and their trio of seniors in Pickett, Lundy, and Funk can keep calm on the road and prevail on Tuesday night. Let's back Penn State to cover in this spot. Vanderbilt vs Alabama. Alabama is on a 5-game against the spread winning streak and one of the best teams in the country, but Vanderbilt head coach Jerry Stackhouse has had his team ready for the Crimson Tide in previous meetings. Vanderbilt has covered the spread in each of its last 4 games against Alabama, winning 2 outright. Our team pick is Vanderbilt plus 8.5 points. With the Darius Miles story getting national headlines, it has to be challenging for the Crimson Tide players to be focused entirely as they will be on the road against a dangerous team they will be favored over. I will take Vanderbilt to cover. Boise State vs Nevada. The Nevada Wolfpack, 15-4-5-1 MWC, traveled to Boise, Idaho, to play at Extra Mile Arena in a Mountain West Conference game against the Boise State Broncos, 14-4-4-1. Nevada defeated the Utah State Aggies 85-70 on Friday, and the Wolfpack have won 7 of the last 8, with only a loss to San Diego State during that stretch. Nevada is first in the MWC. Boise State defeated Wyoming 85-68 on Saturday, and the Broncos have won each of the last 4. Boise State is tied for second in the MWC, a half game behind Nevada. Michael Follerin, KJ Himes and Hunter McIntosh are out for Nevada. RJ Keene is out for Boise State. The Boise State Broncos defense will be too much for the Nevada offense. Boise State is 18th in the nation in points allowed at 60.5 points per game. The Broncos hold up opponents to a field goal percentage of 39.0% and a 3-point shooting percentage of only 29.0%. Boise State has covered the spread in each of the last 3 and in 6 of the last 9, with 1 push during that stretch and just 2 failed covers. Nevada's defense is also strong, holding opponents to an average of 64.7 points per game and 40.2% shooting, but will not be strong enough to offset the Broncos' defense that will be playing in front of its home crowd. Nevada is just 1-2-1 at TS in the last 4 played on the road. Our team pick is Boise State Broncos for the win. These 2 are the heavyweights of the Mountain West Conference and will battle for first place throughout the season, but the first round will go to the home side, Boise State. Utah State vs UNLV. The UNLV Rebels, 12-5-1-4 MW, will be trying to snap their 2-game losing streak when they face the Utah State Aggies, 14-4-3-2 MW, on Tuesday night. The Rebels are coming off an 82-81 loss to Colorado State as 5.5-point favorites. The Aggies are coming off an 85-70 loss to Nevada as 2.5-point underdogs. The Aggies have won 4 of their last 6 games and 8 of their last 9 home games. They are very good offensively, especially at home where they are scoring more than 82 points per game while making over 48% of their shots. They do a good job finding the open man and they're aggressive on the offensive glass, which will give them more scoring opportunities. They also cut back on their turnovers and won't give the Rebels a lot of easy scoring opportunities. The Aggies usually play well defensively, but they struggled in recent games, giving up over 80 points per game in their last 3 games, and will have a hard time slowing down the Aggies in this game. The Rebels have lost 4 of their last 5 games. They have played well offensively, even on the road where they are averaging more than 75 points per game. They don't rebound the ball as well as the Aggies and won't get a lot of extra scoring opportunities against them. They were also careless with the ball in their last 3 games, which will lead to easy scoring opportunities for the Aggies. Our team pick is Utah State Aggies minus 5.5 points. With Utah State holding opponents under 70 points per game at home, the Rebels will have a hard time keeping up with them, so go with Utah State to cover the spread. Belmont vs Murray. Belmont lost both last season, but that was to a great Murray State team. This is a more important game for the Bruins to get some revenge as well as keep their streak alive. There's a reason Murray State is 2-6 on the road. They are inconsistent and that comes with adding a new coach and players. They also struggle shooting on the road, making just 42.8% of their shots and 31.7% of their 3-point attempts. Belmont is making 47% of their shots at home, and their 3-point shooting at home or overall is just magnificent. Our team pick is Belmont minus 5 points. It's tough to defend a team that has 3 starters who are shooting over 41% from long range and 4 who are making 38.2% or more. Air Force vs Wyoming. The Wyoming Cowboys, 5-12 0-5 MW, will be trying to pick up their first road win of the season when they face the Air Force Falcons, 11-7, 2-3 MW on Tuesday night. The Cowboys are coming off an 85-68 loss to Boise State as 4.5-point underdogs. The Falcons are coming off a 51-48 win over Fresno State as 3.5-point underdogs. The Falcons have won 6 of their last 9 games and 8 of their last 12 home games. They don't have a high-scoring offense, but they play well at home, where they are scoring more than 71 points per game while making 49% of their shots. They do a good job rebounding the ball, and they were aggressive on the offensive glass in their last 3 games, which will give them more scoring opportunities. They also cut back on their turnovers in their last 3 games and won't give the Cowboys a lot of easy scoring opportunities. With Wyoming struggling defensively in their last 3 games, giving up more than 82 points per game, they will have a hard time slowing down the Falcons in this game. The Cowboys have lost 7 straight games, and they haven't won a road game this season. They aren't very good offensively, and they play worse on the road where they are barely scoring more than 60 points per game. Their ball movement hasn't been very good on the road, and they don't rebound the ball as well as the Falcons, so don't expect them to get a lot of extra scoring chances. They've also been careless with the ball on the road, which will lead to easy scoring opportunities for the Falcons, who average more than 7 steals per game at home. Our team pick is Air Force Falcons minus 3.5 points. With Air Force holding opponents under 65 points per game at home, expect them to keep Wyoming's offense in check. Go with Air Force to cover the spread. Wake Forest vs Clemson. Clemson's winning streak will eventually come to an end, but it's hard to trust Wake Forest's defense to get the job done. The Demon Deacons struggled to defend the paint, and PJ Hall had 21 points in that 20-point victory over Wake Forest. The Tigers have dominated the Demon Deacons over the last few years. Our team pick is the Clemson Tigers plus 3. Texas Tech vs Baylor. 4 of Texas Tech's 5 losses in the conference play have come by 6 or fewer points. The Red Raiders must be fired up to finally get one in the win column, and I think they can take advantage of Baylor's shaky defense. They love to get to the foul line, and the Raiders certainly have enough weapons to deal with the Bears' mighty backcourt. Our team pick is Texas Tech Red Raiders minus 1.5 points.